Artur
Jake
Beterbiev
Paul
just had a
made
heated press
headlines
conference
again,
ahead of their
and
big
this
fight
time
in
it wasn't for
October.
one of
But
his
what went
fights.
down backstage
During the
made
heated
more
press
headlines
conference for
than
the
these
Dmitry
two
Bivol
squaring
vs.
off. You're not going to
Artur
believe this.
BBF
Jake
match
Paul
in
attacked
October,
Mike
what
Tyson.
went
Well,
down
Jake just had to
backstage
make
stole
the
the
Dmitry
show.
versus Artur presser
In
about
classic
himself,
Jake
right?
Paul
I mean,
fashion,
classic
he couldn't
Jake.
resist
He loves
making it
stealing
all
the
about
spotlight,
himself.
and this time he had another trick up his sleeve.
As
While
Jake
Dmitry and
walked
Artur were
backstage,
preparing
he
for their
crossed
big
paths
day,
with
Jake
none
just
other than
couldn't
Mike
resist
Tyson.
making it his moment.
You could
As he
feel the
walked
tension
backstage
immediately.
right past
Jake
Iron Mike
never
Tyson,
wanted to
you
stay
could see the
quiet,
tension
threw a few
building.
verbal
Jake couldn't
jabs
keep
at
his
Iron
mouth
Mike.
shut. No
But
surprise
here's
there.
the thing,
And
Mike
threw a
doesn't
few
tolerate
verbal jabs
disrespect.
at Tyson. You know how it is
He's
with
all
Mike,
about
though. He
respect,
doesn't take
and Jake was
disrespect
really
lightly.
pushing his
Tyson's all
buttons.
about respect.
This time, though, Jake wasn't his usual cocky self. He was visibly nervous, sweating bullets. And if you know Jake, when he's on edge, the trash talking gets worse. But this time it wasn't just talk. Jake took things to a whole new level, crossing a line that shocked everyone in the room. What started as a simple press event for Dmitry and Artur turned into a chaotic scene, with Jake once again stealing the spotlight, but for all the wrong reasons. One thing led to another, and before anyone knew it, chaos erupted. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson's backstage tension turned into a full-blown
That's from 147 to 168 to call you out, right? Some big names.
brawl, with fists flying and total madness. Security rushed in to break things up as the situation spiraled out of control. Jake might have bitten off more than he can chew this time, because when you poke a bear like Mike Tyson, it's bound to end badly. Meanwhile, Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev were at the press conference, hyping up their upcoming fight and trading shots to get under each other's skin, as expected. World-class fighters Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev were busy hyping up their upcoming fight, but let's be real, no one stirs the pot quite like Jake Paul. Love him or hate him, Jake has a knack for keeping all eyes on him. When it comes to hyping a fight, nobody does it better. He's a walking headline, but this backstage brawl with Mike Tyson? It was on a whole different level. Here's the kicker: Jake has a fight lined up with Tyson on November 15th, 2024, at a T Arena, and it seems like he's doing everything possible to make sure no one forgets about it. The press conference seemed more like Jake Paul's attempt to grab some extra attention for those pay-per-view buys than anything else. It was a last-ditch effort to hype his own fight by stealing the spotlight from legends like Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. Typical Jake, right? While Dmitry and Artur were on stage taking verbal shots at each other, building tension for their upcoming bout, Jake was backstage, waiting for the perfect moment to make it all about him. As soon as he walked past Mike Tyson, you just knew something was about to go down. Jake, in classic fashion, started running his mouth, trash-talking like only he can. But Tyson? He lives for respect, and when disrespected, he doesn't let it slide. Jake Paul was feeling extra bold, firing shots at Mike Tyson and disrespecting the legend right to his face. Once Jake starts talking trash, it never ends with just words his ego won't allow it. Before anyone realized, Jake was throwing punches. Yep, he actually put his hands on Tyson. Tyson, of course, didn't hold back. Even now, his hands can still put any fighter to sleep, and Jake was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Both Tyson's entourage and Jake's crew rushed in, trying to prevent things from getting worse, but it was too late. The brawl had already erupted, and chaos took over. The backstage area turned into an all-out brawl, with fists flying from both sides. It was pure chaos. Security had to rush in, but even then, pulling Jake Paul and Mike Tyson apart wasn't easy. Jake was swinging wildly, trying to land shots on Tyson, while Tyson, calm as ever, was defending himself like the pro he is. You could tell Tyson wasn't trying to seriously hurt Jake, but he was definitely sending a message. Jake may have started it, but Tyson was going to finish it if no one stepped in. Let's break down the fight mechanics. Jake's style is wild and aggressive. He loves to come out swinging hard and fast, hoping to overwhelm his opponent. That's exactly what he tried here. Jake Paul tried to overwhelm Mike Tyson with a flurry of wild hooks and punches, but Tyson is a defensive master. His legendary head movement allowed him to slip Jake's punches effortlessly, making Jake look reckless. Tyson's counters? Still lethal. Even at his age, he's got the power to drop anyone. Jake's disrespect didn't stop with the punches. He kept firing off insults, trying to get under Tyson's skin. But Tyson, who's been through real wars in the ring, wasn't fazed. Instead, he bided his time, waiting for the right moment to strike back, knowing he could end it whenever he wanted. Jake Paul waited for the perfect moment to strike, but when he did, the difference in experience was obvious. Jake was wild and undisciplined, throwing haymakers, while Tyson was calm, precise, and ready to capitalize on Jake's mistakes. As their entourages got involved, things only got more chaotic. Jake's team tried holding him back, but he kept pushing forward, swinging at anyone in his path. Meanwhile, Tyson's crew was doing their best to keep things from escalating further. But once it starts, you know how these things go. It's nearly impossible to stop. The backstage scene was total mayhem. Everyone was shouting, punches were flying left and right, and security scrambled to regain control. This isn't the first time we've seen Jake Paul lose his cool. After all, he's earned the title problem child for a reason. We've seen him brawl with the likes of Floyd Mayweather and Nate Diaz, but remember when Jake went off at that intense Mike Tyson press conference on August 18th in New York City? That was wild. Jake's been pushing boundaries for a while now, and this latest incident just takes it to a new level. Jake Paul has been stirring up chaos at press conferences for a while now, always keeping people talking. But this one, it was on a different level. Press conferences in combat sports aren't just about promoting fights, they're about building hype. Fighters use these events to get in each other's heads, plant seeds of doubt, and get fans buzzing. It's all part of the spectacle to ensure everyone's excited for fight night. Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev knew this going into their presser, trying to hype their fight and draw as much attention as possible. But, as always, Jake Paul had to steal the spotlight. He wasn't even the main event at that presser, yet still found a way to make it all about him. At the August 18th press conference, Jake Paul was doing what he does best, trying to sell his upcoming fight with Mike Tyson. But you could tell he was feeling the pressure. This wasn't just some YouTuber or retired athlete he was trash-talking. This was Mike Tyson, a living legend in combat sports. Tyson's presence alone is enough to intimidate anyone, and Jake was...
This is what it's all about for me, man. I'm a kid from Ohio. New York. Boo yourself. Boo yourself, New York. Hey, New York. New York. You're just like Mike Tyson. You were good 20 years ago. New York.
was definitely feeling it. His usual cocky, trash-talking self was shaky, and the fear was starting to creep in. Instead of his typical confidence, Jake began blabbering, spitting out whatever came to mind without thinking twice, trying desperately to hold his ground against Iron Mike. Jake Paul was clearly nervous, and we all know what happens when he gets anxious. He starts talking, but not in a coherent way. He stumbled over his words, making little sense, and it was obvious to everyone that he was completely out of his depth. It was a cringe-worthy...
If I was walking on water, they would say it's because I couldn't swim. And this is to make history. You know, people think I'm going to get knocked out by this strong, powerful guy. All the people in my comments saying, look at his power, he's going to get KO'd. People are yelling at me in the event. But what happens when I put this man to sleep? This shit is not a...
moment that made you want to look away but kept you glued to the screen because of its sheer awkwardness. You could see Tyson's calm, intimidating aura making Jake tremble in his boots. The energy in the room was electric, but for Jake it felt utterly suffocating. The fans weren't having any of it. This was Mike Tyson, one of the most respected figures in the fight world. Trash-talking is one thing, but going after Tyson? That's a whole different ballgame. Jake was outright disrespecting him, and the fans could sense it. The room was buzzing with tension, but instead of hyping up the crowd, Jake was turning them against him, making the atmosphere even more charged and hostile. Booing erupted, and it was clear that Jake Paul had crossed the line. This wasn't the first time he disrespected a legend, but the way he was falling apart while trying to do it was a bad look. Make no mistake, Tyson is not someone you want to underestimate, especially in the ring. Jake might have gotten under his skin with all his talk about Tyson's health, but come fight night, Tyson will let his fists do the talking. We'll have to wait and see how everything plays out. That's all I have for you today. What are your thoughts on this recent brawl? Fill the comment section with your opinions, and I'll see you in the next video.